All right. Okay. So we're live. Hi, everyone. I am Jaeriah, a front-end developer and designer here at Commerce.js. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for joining in today for the live stream building of a Commerce.js and Svelte application. So for those who haven't heard of or used Commerce.js, it is a JavaScript SDK built on top of Check, which is an API-first e-commerce platform. Commerce.js makes developing custom commerce websites and apps intuitive and seamless. And today, I'm really thrilled to be welcoming an exciting guest joining me, Jamie Barton, who is coming in live all the way across the pond in the UK. Jamie is a developer, relations engineer at GraphCMS, and is truly just a powerhouse. I want to bring up the fact that he's been on this daily live stream commitment where he's coding and building new tools live. That's why I'm thrilled to be continuing on with that challenge. Jamie will be walking us through on how to create a Commerce.js application in Svelte and Sapper. So I'm going to pop him into the stream here. Welcome, Jamie. Excuse me. Love it if you could tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, sure. So, as you already said, I work at GraphCMS. Spend most of my time there helping improve the developer experience, and I'm hugely passionate about making sure that the dev experience is best for anyone, kind of in the headless space, and working with these new tools and making sure that people can kind of just get going in a quick, easy way that isn't overwhelming. So hopefully today we can achieve that by showing people how straightforward things can be if you just ignore a lot of the noise, and how easy it is to get going with Commerce.js and Svelte. I've been a developer for 15 plus years, and recently I've started to have a look at Svelte. Primarily, I've spent a lot of time building websites and apps with React, but I'm liking what Svelte has to offer. Although I've not played too much with it yet. We'll explore today and we'll find out, I guess, how to actually use this thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm completely on the same boat. I've been wanting to get on the hype train for a while, so I'm so glad. Yeah, we're gonna tinker into this framework. So I'll turn it over to you, Jamie, to sort of kick us off then.
Okay. So yeah, you should be able to share my screen now.
Okay, I'll pop that in. Yeah, awesome.
There we go. Cool, great. So, Svelte. What is it? Well, you're probably best going to svelte.dev and finding out. It'll probably explain way more and way better than I can here. But really, the biggest thing for me is it doesn't have any concept of a virtual DOM. So a lot of these frameworks will have to download this big bundle or split bundle to then mount something on the page, whereas Svelte can kind of just do that a lot easier by taking a lot of the kind of the build up front and splitting things out to the pages a lot nicer, and it just deals with kind of just raw JavaScript events, which is really nice. And I have found, having played with it, especially with the Sapper that framework that we'll be using today, is you do kind of write less code. And it can be a bit confusing. It was for me when I first looked at it coming from React. But if someone's coming from Vue, it may be a little bit familiar. You may feel more at home. Have you looked at all at Svelte, Jaeriah? Or?
I have. Well, I've gone through the website a bit, and yeah, earlier I just mentioned to Jamie how to come in for the first time and navigating to the tutorial. It's really got a very nice interactive tutorial that's laid out, walks you all through the features. So it's yeah, it's really a low barrier to entry, and you're right about it being comparison with Vue. So a lot of the syntax is quite familiar. So it feels quite nice to be able to kind of jump in and see the output right away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have the REPL as well, which is nice. So if anyone's familiar with this kind of reprint evaluate loop, then you'll be able to just kind of go in here and update things and see it live without having to kind of download anything. And quite often that's the biggest steps actually installing something and getting going, whereas they've kind of got this REPL online where you can just start playing. You haven't got to spin up Code Sandbox or download a dependency. You can just get going, which is really nice. And
get your feet wet a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
Their examples is quite nice as well. They've got a lot of examples in here for common use cases. So, things where you've got lists, you've got forms, you've got blocks. Any async, await stuff is in here as well, which is nice, and kind of nested components. They've got all of the examples in here. So it's just really nice. They've kind of got a nice, it's been packaged together nice to allow people to, and I guess that's what they want as well. They want all of these examples and the intuitive tutorial and all of that, just to kind of showcase how powerful this thing can be, but not overwhelming the user as well. So it's been nice for me to kind of explore. And as I say, I'm no expert with Svelte, so let's learn together today.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this was just, I saw that it was just pushed out for Svelte 3, which is, amazing. It's a great move.
Yeah, I think it's now described as a language, which is interesting. So Svelte's been, instead of being a framework or a UI library, it's been referred to more as a language. So I imagine some of the wording or the kind of the text we see on the website, that will change to reflect that. But I think that's what I read recently from someone's journal. But yeah, we'll be using Sapper. So this is kind of similar to Next.js in a sense, or Nuxt, where they kind of take care of some of the, the routing for you. It's kind of, they tell you how to do it and you do it their way and it just works, which is really nice. And they bake a few things in, like View, for example, where you can set the head, the title. You can kind of just do all that stuff with Sapper as well. And they kind of manage that. You haven't got to kind of go and look for an external dependency, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So I think what we'll do is we'll use Rollup, because actually the creator of Svelte created Rollup. So I always think that's probably the better choice. So we'll go ahead and we will open up Terminal, and we'll just give it, this is my Commerce app. So this will go and pull down this repository on GitHub, a specific branch from that repository, and then we can change directory into that, oops, what do I call it? My Commerce app. So now we're inside, it's downloaded everything here.
Wow, that was fast.
And then we can now run npm install, and then it's simply run npm run dev, and then that will spin up the local dev server. So we'll have a look and see what that looks like once it's done. So npm run dev. Oops.
Yeah, I want to point out that feel free for anyone that's tuning in to ask any questions in the comment section. We'll try to be as interactive as much as possible. If not, we'll follow up with the questions after.
Please do.
Yeah, as Jamie said, we're learning this for the first time as well. So it's a great approach to be learning all together.
Yeah, let's just learn together, find out together. Is always my way in life,
Yeah.
So, don't be too serious. Yeah, go with the flow and things will come natural. So this is the Sapper project running locally. We've got an example here. We've got a home page, an index page, an about page. We've then got this blog route, which is a route. And then if you see here, we've got some example posts. And if we click on one of those, you'll see it's going to this page here. And obviously the URL, all of those is taken care of for us, which is really nice. And if we refresh, you'll see there's no waiting, it just loads. I know we're in development, but the same as for when it's built for production as well. Yeah, so that's it's kind of what you get out of the box. It's quite a nice starting point, because typically one thing either people reach for is a to-do app or a blog. Those are kind of the two things people reach to do with a new framework or a language, and that that's what we've got here. So now we've got that. The one thing that I like to do is I just like to remove everything that it brought, except you'll see here we've got the client, we've got a couple of kind of boilerplate files, which is just dealing with the service worker in there, and the actual server that it runs. You can opt to use Express if you want, and you could even bind on additional routes as well. So if you're coming from something like Next.js where you have API routes, you could in fact use Express to then add your own /API/login or whatever to kind of handle that, which is nice.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
anybody familiar with Next, it's a little bit more work that you've got to do. I would like to see that maybe brought into the framework if it's not already, and I haven't seen it. But that's just really nice, having that kind of server that you can bind things onto. So yeah, then we see here it's completely driven. The app is driven by the routes folder. So the router is the file system, which is nice, and that kind of follows the pattern of, most of these kind of frameworks these days. They all follow the same pattern, which makes it
Yeah.
really good for us, right? Because we haven't got to relearn everything or understand and figure out a new way of
Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah. The framework built on top of the framework.
Yeah.
That's sort of got this
Yeah.
wrapper up for us.
So I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these files. I'll keep the error, and we can maybe get rid of the layout. We don't need that. We'll get rid of the about page and the index page. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that, and we'll just display hello world. And I'll run that server once again. And then we'll just check we're up and running.
Okay.
There we go. So we're kind of at a hello world starting point. So next what we'll do is we'll go ahead and why don't we install Commerce.js. Now, it's probably a bit obvious by now, but I've kind of got a little bit of a soft spot for Commerce.js. And that's really because there's not a lot of commerce APIs that really care about the developer. And the one thing that I've always kind of thought with Commerce.js is the responses you get from the API and from the library itself, they are helping the developer. You're not having to make a bunch of calculations to see whether the cart is empty or there's any promo items or if this item is free or not or has shipping or not. You provide that, which is really nice. So thank you. It's a delight working with libraries that take care of me as a developer, and not just about the capabilities. It's just much easier to build with, I think.
Yeah, I think, that's sort of the approach that we've always taken, to be as developer friendly, and really make that developer adoption as seamless as possible. So, with you coming in and the community members coming in to work with Commerce.js and giving us all the feedback that we need to continually improve on our documentation is important to us.
Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and install Commerce.js here.
So you can get that right from commercejs.com/docs, and we've got an installation step. Yeah, as Jamie's pointed out over here.
Yeah, the docs have recently been updated as well, which is nice. I've noticed that everything's just kind of laid out nice. You can kind of come in, you can get familiar with Commerce.js and what it is, and then you're straight into the installation. Like, how do I get going? Well, you've got everything here, which is nice. So I'm going to copy this bit actually. And I like documentation that just allows you to copy and paste. It saves you so much time. So why don't we I'm going to create a folder called lib and just call this commerce.js. I always kind of question myself, should I call it commerce.js.js or commerce.js? But we'll just call it that. And then I will do export. Let's do an export const commerce. Now this public API key, once you've logged in to Commerce.js, you can get it once you're logged in. You can get it, oops.
Yeah, if you go under...
where is it?
Either settings or developer, just on the developer icon,
Yeah, so you can get this API key here and get going. Obviously, the secret key here, I wouldn't expose that in the client side because people will be able to do anything. Luckily, if anyone's watching and they want to use that secret key, there's nothing on this account, so don't worry. But yeah, we'll be working with the public key today that you provided before we started, which is a key from the public demo that you guys have. So we'll use that because that has products and we haven't got to kind of spend time on the stream today creating products. So let's paste that in. So this is the public key for the demo account that you have. Now then, let's just run the server once again.
Yeah,
And
the
with that
public
running,
key will give you enough. Sorry, Jimmy.
go on.
Yeah, give you enough exposure for read access to really just your products listing to kick us off today.
Yeah. Okay. So if we have a look at Sapper, their documentation just kind of walks you through kind of the page route. Like, this is how you add a title to the page. This is how you create content. And again, it's familiar to like Vue.js, where you just kind of write your HTML and you kind of use their special tags to, attribute the title and whatever else you need to. The important thing that we'll be using here, though, is for dynamic routes. In the next part, we'll be using the kind of params of the preload function to get the product or the category ID. But this context module, this is what runs. I think this is what runs once on the page, so it's not evaluated every single time the component loads. It's just run once. I think that's correct. And then this script is, I think. But yeah, we can.
Okay. Where you
just take,
instantiate, right? The second opening, the second script tag?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this will just fetch once. I
Right.
think that just runs when the file is loaded. I might be incorrect, but I think that's how it works. So we'll just kind of. We could have wrote this by hand, but we'll make some requests to Commerce.js. So if we have a look at list products, we'll just go and get all of the products from Commerce.js. So we can see it's commerce.products.list. And we get that commerce is our instance of commerce. What we'll do now is we'll just import commerce from the lib folder. And then inside of here, we don't need any of these. We can just do const. Now I know, because I've used it before, that the response is data on the page. So you get a response of data. So if you, I think this is the link here.
Yeah, they'll give you the full API response there.
Where are we? There. So it comes back in an array called data. But what I like to do is rename that when I'm destructuring products, so I know what it is. So yeah, we'll just fetch the commerce.products.list, yeah. So that will fetch all of our products, and then we will return an object with the products array. Then, if I remember rightly, inside of here we then need to create another script tag, because if you weren't using Sapper, you could just use products directly, but you have to create another script tag and then create a variable in here for. You have to export the variable products.
Okay.
Essentially, this products here maps to that products. Or you're kind of So
it's sort of like setting state.
For the page, yeah.
For the most part, okay.
Yeah. There is, I think there's a context of a store, like a Vue store,
right?
Or if you're using the context API in React or Redux,
okay.
There's the same context there, and you can kind of write to it, or assign values to it.
Yeah, and that's built in Svelte or Sapper.
I believe so. Yeah, I was reading the documentation earlier on. I think that's all built in. So let's just maybe see what's going on.
Here,
I think
the path.
export. There we go.
Okay.
So we've got all of our products here. So we've got all the information. So if we just have a look at what we're getting here, we're getting, you could obviously tell me a lot more, but things like the price, getting the raw amount. You might want to use the raw amount of points. You may want to use a formatted amount. And then you may want to use with the symbol or with the code. So that's always quite nice. I can't count how many times I've had to deal with things like this myself on the client. But Commerce.js providing the value here is really nice. We get the SKU if there is one. Any SEO information, which is this new?
Yeah, this is recently added to our new products view here. So yeah, as you said, we're trying to make it as as accessible and with all the options you'll ever need really
Yeah.
to render out a UI before checkout. So as Jamie said, we sort of designed out the API for it to be as readable and legible as
Yeah.
possible as well.
Oh, good. No, it's a new edition I've not seen, so I'll be checking that out for sure. But this was the other things like the conditionals and having, is the product active? Is it free? No, it's not. Is there videos? Does it have images? Is it physical? Is it sold out? This is all helpful stuff. Like these booleans are really helpful when building a product site to be able to kind of conditionally show things and including, upsells or whatever. Those are really nice to have. So that's what I was talking about before with the great developer experience. That's what we've got there.
Yeah.
And then we get the category information as well, checkout URLs and assets and loads more. So we've got a bunch of
it really
products.
ties into how we want to push, for any users using us to make a fully customizable e-commerce experience.
Yeah, that's good. So just showing JSON on the page is not too appealing. Why don't we create a block here for each of our products? So for each of our products, we will render a link and just use a regular A tag here. And then, that can go to a URL, a path for a product. So let's say this is /product/ permalink, I think it is. Right?
Yeah, for the products endpoint.
Yeah.
To get to an individual product.
So say that's product.permalink. And we'll render the product name. So now back here, there we do. We get all of our things.
Nice.
They're not nicely formatted. So let's improve that. There we go. So we get all of these here. And I'm not going to worry about styling. I never do with these kind of things because all we are really interested in here is hooking up Svelte with Commerce.js. So yeah, and then we got the list here. So let's click on kettle, for example. And then this is kind of the built-in error page that we had here. So you get kind of the status, which is nice. That's kind of given to us.
Yeah.
From Svelte. So you could conditionally show stuff. You get the message as well. And some kind of nice flags here. If it's dev and there's a stack, then show the error stack, which is super helpful. So yeah, that's kind of listing the products on the index and then creating links for each of those. And all we've really done is create the script tag, import Commerce.js, and call the function. And we've got an array of products now. Obviously, you could expand this to paginate and do all of that fun stuff. But we'll just stick with creating a list here and then go into these individual pages. So maybe it's now we can create the kind of file, the path for these product pages.
The individual product, okay.
Yeah, and these follow the same, the kind of the convention here for the file name follows like Next.js, and I think Vue may be the same. I think Gatsby's curly braces, to be different, but
so these are for variable file names, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can access those inside of the file. Now we'll just call this permalink because in our use case, that's what we are sending in the URL here. But this file name could be called anything you want. It doesn't have to match the API in any way. That can be accessed in any way you want. So we'll create that kind of file now, I think. So if we just go back to index and we'll just copy this over and we'll return product and product there. And I think product just comes back here, not in data. Then if we go to the Commerce.js docs, can see, where is it? Retrieve a product.
Retrieve.
Get one product. Can we get that? Am I looking in the wrong place? There we go.
Yeah, just a retrieve.
So we pass the ID of the product. In our case, we don't have ID. So we can pass in some additional options here. And one of them is, it is type permalink. And that will get the product by permalink. Because linking it to the ID is not always too nice. So instead of this here, we can pass in the permalink, which is cool.
Yeah.
So we'll do retrieve and we'll pass in permalink, and then we'll set an object and we'll say the type is permalink. And then we'll return product the same way as we did here, and then we'll return the product name. Now, where do we get this permalink from? Well, Svelte, like the other frameworks, they follow the same convention. They give us some context about the route you visited. In this case, this is /product/permalink. So we can destructure the params from the context, and then we can get that good old, not the slug, the permalink from params. We can save that.
Okay.
And then back over here, I'm hoping this works.
We've got our product name. Okay, just a nested.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got the product name, and then we've got, say for example, we just print everything out, just to see exactly what we had again. We got things like the price formatted with symbol, so we could do product.price.formatted with symbol, and that will display there. We got the image as well. Got this media object. Now, I think assets gives you multiple images. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a new addition as well. For multiple assets to be added and associated with a product. So yeah, we're excited to do a follow-up stream on maybe showcasing our new product view, but now you can actually add that on the UI side as opposed to directly onto the API.
Sweet.
But yeah, as many images and a feature image you can do.
Cool. No, that's good. So we could destructure, or we could just I don't know if we want to get into that just yet, but we could iterate over each of those assets, and then we could show the image, and we could show the list of categories. But I'm just conscious of time, and we're nearly at 30 minutes, so we'll just leave it showing the name and price, and we can go back and we can click on lamp, and you see it's getting the individual data for each of the products, which is good. So yeah, that's kind of the way it works. We could very quickly just do the same for categories. So Commerce.js has the concept of a category. So product belongs to a category. What if we want to go to a page that is /category, slug or whatever, and then we list all the products inside of the category? That could be useful. So let's just go ahead and we'll just make a request to commerce.categories.list.
Yeah,
and again, follows convention. This isn't just like all. It's really nice when an SDK just follows convention. And then we'll get those categories. We'll duplicate this, and oops.
Yeah, I want to say the syntax is oddly nostalgic, but I probably don't have enough grounds to say that since I'm still fairly new. But honestly, starting to learn HTML and then Vue, and then looking at Svelte now, it's yeah.
It's nice.
It's quite familiar.
You feel at home, don't you? It's it's nice.
It just makes sense.
Categories, that's slug, right? The response is slug
categories, yeah.
And the category has a name, not a title, or is it title?
It's name. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
cool.
following the same format as product.
Nice. So I'll just create some headings above these. So there we can go. We can see we've got these categories here. And then when we click on one of these categories, such as accessories, it's going to take us back to that 404. So why don't we do the same now and get the category info. So again, it's /categories/slug.svelte. And I'm going to copy all of this and paste this here. And change this to categories. And this will be slug. And I can't remember what that was. Slug as well, yeah.
As well, yeah. To define that type.
And we'll get rid of that price because categories don't have prices. So we should be good. There we go. Sweet. So we go to home office, and then we get home office in the title. Now, that's the same as what we got for products, but we can take it a step further now we can query for using, well, fetching all of the products by the category slug, if that makes sense. So we can get a response of all of our products like we did on the index page, which was await commerce products.list. And then that takes in an argument, and this can be category slug. And then we pass in that slug. And we can then, if we just copy the same as what we have here, paste that in, we go to accessories, and there we go. So those are all of our products inside of the
filtered out, yeah
categories
to
that category, yeah, which is nice. So, you know, it's been 32 minutes, and already we've got data coming from Commerce.js. It's inside of Svelte, which can then be kind of built, exported, uploaded, and at build time, Svelte will take care of kind of creating taking a lot of the burden off you from the person viewing the page. So it'll build it nicely, it'll package it up for you, and you know, it doesn't do all of the stuff the other bundlers do. It just kind of takes a lot of the compiling at the build time and makes it so when you load the page, there isn't any dependencies to load really. You're just kind of loading the JavaScript, which will execute and do its thing, and it won't kind of wait for everything to load and load this virtual DOM and diff things that way. It's just JavaScript. So it's what I really like about this. And as we've seen here, it follows the same convention of something like Nuxt or Next or whatever. And we can make all these requests in here, and you know, it's all secure because we're using the public key from Commerce.js. You know, and to kind of take it a step further, maybe it's not today, but maybe it's in a future streaming. For anyone that is interested, I've obviously recorded some videos on what we've created here. So if somebody does kind of want to kind of follow along at a faster pace, there's some videos on YouTube, and those kind of go through doing what we've done here. But to take that a bit further, what would be great is to add in the cart functionality. So it would be great on these pages here to have a button that is, you know, add to cart, and that would essentially call the, you know, on click that would call the commerce dot
cart.add.
Cart.add, yeah, and then pass in the info there, and then we can go and create that client-side cart on another page. So I'd love to do some follow-up videos with that as well. So, you know, if anyone is watching and interested to learn more about that, keep an eye out. But hopefully this has been kind of just a quick deep dive into building or working with Svelte and building a Commerce.js powered store. We have just kind of covered the catalog, but that's pretty much where everybody starts. So why not get started?
Yeah, awesome. Wow, yeah, thank you, Jamie, for your time. We can really see how in 30 minutes that was just smashed out quite seamlessly and easily. So I want to thank you for walking us through that.
No, you're very welcome. And there's not there isn't a huge amount of code here. I know we haven't got anything styled or anything, but there's not a huge amount of code to make these requests. This just kind of this is where Commerce.js shines really, because the SDK is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It's making all of those network requests for us. All I've kind of had to do is plug it in, and I could copy this same code and go put it into Vue or Nuxt or wherever else, and it will do the same thing if I follow their conventions. So it's really nice to work with a library that kind of just handles a lot of the heavy work for us.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've missed, or we've obviously not dived in too much. And for anyone watching who does want to take it a step further, head on over to the documentation. I'll be following this in some upcoming videos where we will go into adding products to the cart and then retrieving the cart and then having a checkout and going through all of that flow. But the API is well documented. Everything's here, and I'll be certainly following along. So expect to hear from me a lot more.
Awesome. Yeah. As Jamie said, easily go into the docs, incrementally build your app, just adding the functionality that you need in each layer. So that's what, sort of the approach that we took with our documentation.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we could wrap it up there. But if there's no questions,
feel free to. I will pop this back right up. If you have any questions, anyone viewing or viewing after this video is published, feel free to get in touch with us on our Twitter or Slack community. Any questions you might have. That'll be awesome. So once again, thank you so much, Jamie.
thank you, Jaeriah, and then let's do it again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Have a great evening, and I'll go on with my day here in the West Coast. All right.
Bye
now.